We live in a time when loss, grief, and emotional emptiness have become common experiences, yet they are still deeply misunderstood. When someone we love passes away, it feels like the ground opens beneath our feet, and suddenly nothing makes sense anymore. This universal pain forces us to face the great question: is death really the end, or is it simply a passage into another form of life? The story you're about to hear brings hope to those walking through grief. She lost the one she loved the most, but discovered that life goes on, is a heartfelt journey that blends emotion, spirituality, and resilience. Inspired by Spiritist teachings rooted in the works of Kardec, Emmanuel, and André Louise, it shows us that love does not end with death, and that faith has the power to turn pain into purpose. If you've ever experienced a painful loss, or if you fear the day you might face it, this video is for you. Together, we'll reflect with both depth and gentleness on how life continues and how we can overcome emotional blocks to live with authenticity, hope, and meaning. So, if this subject touches your heart, stay with us until the end, and share this message of light with someone who needs it. When the world falls apart. I never imagined a simple phone call could shatter my entire world. The moment I received the news of Joan's passing, my heart broke into 1,000 pieces. I couldn't believe it, like someone had pulled the floor out from under me. Every plan we had made, every laugh we shared, all of it collapsed in front of my eyes. Life, once full of color, suddenly turned into a gray, hopeless landscape. In that moment, nothing made sense. People tried to comfort me with kind words, but none of it could fill the emptiness I felt. Friends' hugs gave me a fleeting relief, but the pain always came back stronger. I kept wishing it was just a nightmare, that at any moment I would wake up to see Jones walking in through the door with that smile that always lit up the room. But the silence was cruel, and it was real. The following days felt endless. I kept asking myself, why me? Why now? No answers came, only the echo of my own anguish. I felt alone, even in the company of others. The world outside seemed to move on, but inside me, everything had stopped. It was as if life had frozen the very moment I got that call, leaving nothing behind but pain and despair. Faith, which had sustained me during other hardships, now felt distant. I knew from my readings that life doesn't end with death, but in the middle of my grief, those words had no space to land. My heart was closed to hope. All I could feel was Joan's absence, like part of my soul had been ripped away with him. Each memory was like a knife cutting deeper. The last glance, the last kiss, the final words, all of them replayed in my mind over and over. I clung to those moments, but instead of soothing me, they only amplified the pain. The harsh reality was impossible to escape. I had to go on without him, and that felt unbearable. Time lost its meaning. Days dragged endlessly. Nights were even worse. Walking through the house felt like crossing a minefield of memories. The pillow beside me stayed empty, and I cried until sleep finally came. But waking up was the cruelest part, because the very first thought was always the same. Jones wasn't there. Every morning, the pain was reborn as if it were the very first day. My world had collapsed. Everything I knew, everything I planned, everything I loved was destroyed in a matter of seconds. I had no idea how to rebuild any of it. All I knew was that I was standing among ruins, unable to see beyond my grief. The weight of emptiness. After the first storm of tears, I thought the pain would slowly ease, but instead it deepened. The silence in the house was unbearable. Every object, every corner seemed to scream Joan's name. I would reach for the phone just to check if maybe he had left a message. I knew it was impossible, yet my heart still clung to that desperate hope. The emptiness wasn't just in the rooms, it was inside me. I stopped finding joy in the things that once gave me comfort. Music, books, and even the simple act of cooking felt meaningless. Food lost its taste, time lost its flow, and life lost its colors. I moved through the days like a shadow of myself. Friends and family kept telling me to be strong, but those words felt hollow. Strength was something I no longer believed I had. At night, I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling a weight pressing down on my chest. The darkness outside seemed to match the darkness within. I prayed, sometimes with tears soaking my pillow, asking God why he had allowed this. But heaven felt silent, and the silence was heavier than the pain itself. The emptiness began to seep into every aspect of my life. My work suffered, my relationships grew distant, and my body felt drained of energy. Smiles became rare, laughter disappeared completely. People around me kept living their lives, while mine felt stuck in one endless night. I was breathing but not living. The worst part was the thought that maybe I would never recover, that this emptiness was permanent, and I would forever carry the weight of absence. Sometimes I even questioned the point of continuing. The idea of moving on felt like betrayal, yet staying in that pit of grief was unbearable. I was trapped between two impossibilities. It was during these moments of deepest despair that I realized how fragile human existence really is. We build so much around us, dreams, plans, routines, and in an instant all of it can collapse. My soul screamed for meaning, for some explanation that could ease the weight. But all I found was silence and more emptiness. And so, I began to understand that grief is not just about missing someone. It's about missing a part of yourself that died with them. That was the heaviest burden of all, trying to figure out who I was without Jones, and whether I still had a reason to exist. The first signs of hope. Time passed slowly, but somewhere between the tears and sleepless nights, small cracks began to form in the wall of despair. It didn't happen suddenly. There was no single moment of awakening. Instead, it came in fragile whispers, almost unnoticeable at first, like faint light sneaking through a closed window. One morning, I found myself watching the sunrise without meaning to. The sky was painted with shades of pink and gold, and for the first time since losing Jones, I felt something other than pain. It wasn't joy, but it was a quiet recognition that beauty still existed, even in my broken world. That small realization lingered with me all day, and I couldn't shake the thought that maybe, just maybe, life wasn't completely empty. Another day, while walking aimlessly through the park, a little bird landed near me. It stayed there, looking directly into my eyes, as if trying to deliver a message. I don't know why, but tears fell, not from sorrow, but from a strange comfort I hadn't felt in months. It was as if nature itself was reminding me that I was still alive, still connected to something larger than my grief. I began to notice these small signs more often. A kind word from a stranger, a song on the radio that seemed to speak directly to my heart, or the way the wind brushed against my face like a gentle embrace. They didn't erase the pain, but they softened its edges. And in those fragile moments, I realized that hope doesn't come as a flood. It arrives as drops, quiet and persistent. These first glimpses of hope scared me as much as they comforted me. A part of me resisted, fearing that feeling better meant forgetting Jones. But deep inside, I started to sense that healing wasn't about forgetting. It was about transforming. The love I had for him didn't die with him. It was still alive within me, waiting to guide me toward something new. For the first time, I allowed myself to imagine that maybe my story wasn't over. That perhaps his absence was not the end of my life, but the beginning of a new journey I couldn't yet see. Hope was fragile, almost fragile enough to break. But it was there, and that was enough to keep me breathing. And so, little by little, the cracks in the darkness widened, letting in a light that I hadn't believed could ever return. It was faint, uncertain, but real. And in that fragile light, I began to take my first hesitant steps toward a different kind of life. A voice beyond silence. Nights were always the hardest. When the world grew quiet, the absence of Jones echoed louder than ever. I would lie in bed staring at the ceiling, clutching the pillow where he once rested his head, and wonder how silence could feel so heavy. Yet, in that silence, something began to change. One night, lost in tears, I whispered his name. To my surprise, I felt a warmth spread through me, as if an unseen presence had entered the room. It wasn't physical, but it was undeniable. For the first time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt alive. I couldn't explain it, but I knew deep in my soul that he was there. After that, moments like these became more frequent. Sometimes, while walking in the park, I would suddenly feel a gentle nudge of comfort, as though invisible hands were guiding me. Other times in dreams I would see his face, not as a painful memory, but as a quiet reassurance. Each time, I woke with a calmness I hadn't known in months. First, I questioned my sanity. Was grief playing tricks on me? Was my mind fabricating comfort out of desperation? But the sensations were too clear, too consistent. They came not when I begged for them, but when I least expected them, like whispers from a place beyond my understanding. One afternoon, as I sat alone in the garden, I closed my eyes and felt the wind caress my skin. A thought arose, not in my own voice but as if carried on that breeze. I'm still with you. The words weren't audible, but they vibrated inside me with a certainty stronger than any sound. I froze, overwhelmed, and tears fell, this time not of despair but of recognition. The silence that once tormented me had become a sacred space. It was in the stillness that I could sense him, not as a body, but as a spirit, as love that refused to die. The barrier between this world and the next no longer felt impenetrable. I realized then that Jones hadn't vanished. He had simply moved into a different dimension of existence. It was terrifying and comforting at once. Terrifying because it forced me to question everything I thought I knew about life and death. Comforting because it meant that love truly was eternal, beyond flesh, beyond distance, beyond loss. And in those whispers, I began to feel less alone. That was the moment I understood. Silence was no longer an enemy. It was a doorway, and through it, his voice continued to reach me, not to hold me in grief, but to guide me toward something greater than both of us. Signs in the everyday. Grief had taught me to look down, to keep my eyes fixed on the ground as though the weight of loss belonged only to darkness. Yet one morning something small shifted. As I walked to the corner store, I noticed a butterfly fluttering beside me, circling 3 times before landing on the bench where Jones used to sit. My heart skipped, and for reasons I couldn't explain, I smiled. It felt like more than coincidence. After that, little things began to catch my attention. A favorite song of his playing unexpectedly on the radio. A stranger wearing the same cologne he used. The number 7, his lucky number, appearing on receipts, clocks, and license plates. First, I dismissed them as random, but they grew too frequent, too aligned with my memories to ignore. One afternoon, I was lost in thought, asking silently if he was truly still with me. As I lifted my head, a gentle breeze swept past, carrying the scent of roses, his favorite flower. There were no roses nearby, yet the fragrance lingered as if the air itself carried his answer. It left me trembling but in awe. The world began to look different. I realized it wasn't only my inner silence that carried his voice. It was life itself. The universe seemed to weave small threads of him into my days, as though reminding me that separation was not as absolute as I had feared. Every sign whispered the same truth. Love never fades. Of course, doubt still crept in. Some days I wondered if I was desperate enough to see meaning where none existed. But even in that doubt, peace followed. The signs came not when I forced them, but when I surrendered. They were gentle, subtle, never demanding, like soft echoes of a presence I couldn't deny. In these moments, grief no longer felt like a heavy chain. It became a bridge, connecting me to something deeper than loss. Each sign was a reminder that life extends beyond the visible, that Jones's love continued to flow through the ordinary details of my days. And with every glimpse of him, I felt myself slowly coming back to life. It wasn't about clinging to the past anymore. It was about learning to walk hand in hand with the invisible, to recognize that what the eye cannot see, the heart can still know. Signs in the everyday taught me that eternity doesn't shout. It whispers patiently, waiting for us to listen. Learning to breathe again. Grief had narrowed my chest, as though every breath had to pass through a gate of thorns. For months, I inhaled only fragments, half living, half remembering. But little by little, as the signs continued to unfold, something shifted. I began to notice the simple rhythm of my own breath, and in that rhythm, I felt the possibility of healing. Started with stillness. Early mornings became my refuge. I would sit by the window, close my eyes, and focus only on air entering and leaving. At first, the silence was painful, filled with echoes of absence. Yet, over time I discovered that silence could also be presence. The presence of life itself, of God, of an unseen love wrapping me gently. Breathing became prayer. Each inhale whispered, "I am alive." Each exhale carried away fragments of despair. I didn't know it then, but I was learning resilience through the simplest act of existence. My spirit, once crushed under sorrow, was slowly remembering how to rise. The teachings of Spiritism reminded me that life doesn't end in the grave. To live is to progress, I had read once in Kardec's words, and now I felt that truth not only in theory but in my very lungs. Every breath was progress, tiny, invisible but real. Each one carried me a step further from the shadows. I also began walking outside, letting nature set the pace of my recovery. The trees swayed like they were breathing with me. The wind moved as though it was reminding me of freedom. Walking barefoot on the earth, I felt grounded, connected again to the cycle of life. Nature became my silent teacher, reminding me that loss and renewal coexist. Though sorrow still rose at unexpected times, I no longer feared it. I let it flow like air itself. Instead of resisting pain, I breathed through it. This was my turning point. The discovery that healing was not about forgetting but about making space within me for both love and loss. Day by day I felt stronger. Not invincible, not untouched by grief, but resilient. Breathing again meant living again. And living again meant honoring the love that had once seemed lost but now flowed, silently, with every beat of my heart and every breath I took. The inner strength awakens. After weeks of learning to breathe through the pain, I began to notice a subtle shift within me. My body, once heavy with sorrow, felt lighter. My mind, previously clouded by despair, started to find clarity in small, deliberate actions. Each morning, I would rise with intention, reminding myself that life, fragile and fleeting, still demanded my attention and care. I started cultivating discipline in ways I had never imagined. Simple routines, making my bed, preparing meals mindfully, tending to my plants, became exercises in resilience. Each small task reminded me that strength is built gradually, through consistency, not sudden heroics. I realized that my grief had the power to either imprison me or teach me patience, focus, and perseverance. Spiritism offered guidance that now felt profoundly personal. I reflected on Emmanuel's words about the spirit's journey, and I understood that inner strength is nurtured through conscious effort and moral growth. Pain, I realized, was not the enemy. It was a signal, a teacher encouraging me to cultivate endurance, courage, and wisdom. I began to recognize patterns in my thoughts and emotions. When fear or sadness arose, I didn't resist them. Instead, I observed them, naming them and letting them pass. Through this awareness, I discovered a reservoir of inner power I had never known existed. Each wave of grief became an opportunity to practice mastery over my reactions, proving that my spirit was stronger than my suffering. Daily reflection and prayer became anchors. I would sit quietly, speaking to Jones as though he could hear, not to summon him back, but to acknowledge the continuity of our connection. My faith in a higher purpose strengthened, reminding me that my life, though altered, was still meaningful. Each act of devotion and contemplation reinforced the invisible threads of love and courage guiding me forward. Slowly, I began to reclaim my autonomy. I made choices that honored my growth, returning to work in small ways, reconnecting with friends, setting intentions for days that felt heavy. Every choice was a declaration that life continues and that I, too, continue. The inner strength I once doubted now whispered in every decision. You can move forward. You can live fully again. By the end of each day, I felt a quiet pride. Not pride in the absence of pain, but pride in the ability to face it with honesty and grace. My grief was no longer a chain. It had become a teacher. Through discipline, awareness, and spiritual connection, I had awakened a power within myself, a power that would carry me through sorrow and into the promise of renewal, transforming pain into purpose. Over time, I realized that my pain did not have to remain a weight dragging me down. It could become a force for good, a way to reach out to others navigating the shadows of grief. I began volunteering at the local support group that had welcomed me, offering listening ears, gentle guidance, and words of comfort to those still in the early stages of loss. Each small act became a way to give back the love I had received when I needed it most. Helping others awakened a sense of peace I had never experienced before. The sorrow that had once paralyzed me became fuel for compassionate action. When someone met my gaze with hope, when their tears were soothed by my embrace, I understood that even the most painful experiences could create light. Grief, when redirected, could be a bridge to empathy, connection, and spiritual growth. I discovered that simple acts of kindness carry profound meaning. A phone call to check in, a message of encouragement, or just attentive presence could lift someone's day. Each gesture of solidarity strengthened my own spirit, helping me continue moving forward while honoring the memory of Jones. Grief no longer felt like a prison. It became a catalyst for meaningful engagement with life. Every group meeting reinforced this lesson. I didn't just listen. I shared insights gained from my journey, offering the wisdom of my own struggles. In doing so, I realized that helping others is also a form of learning and inner expansion. Pain, when understood and directed with love, transforms into a tool for personal and collective growth. Gradually, I noticed profound changes in myself. Anxiety eased, sadness became gentler, and space opened for joy. Life, once interrupted by loss, began to pulse with small victories and meaningful moments. Turning pain into purpose became a daily practice, a way to honor the love I shared with Jones while creating new forms of connection and hope. At the end of each day, I could look back and see that every tear, every sleepless night, and every moment of despair had been essential in guiding me toward this new path. Suffering had not vanished, but it had acquired a higher meaning. It had become a source of strength, courage, and inspiration, for myself and for others. I finally understood that life continues, and that our love does not end. It simply transforms into service and care. The new life that emerges. As time passed, I began to sense that a new life was emerging before me. The pain was still present, but it no longer defined me entirely. Each step I took, each gesture of care toward others, reminded me that life still held beauty. The love I felt for Jones remained, yet it now coexisted with a growing inner strength and sense of purpose. Daily routines acquired renewed significance. Work, reading, walking, and moments with friends were no longer mere tasks. They became opportunities to fully experience life, even in the absence of Jones. Each morning was greeted with gratitude. Each evening reflected upon with mindful awareness of the ways I could continue to grow and contribute. I felt Jones' presence, even in another dimension, subtle yet palpable. His memory inspired my decisions, lent courage in the face of challenges, and brought light to my darkest days. Knowing that he was spiritually near gave me confidence to move forward, reassuring me that the world had not ended, even if my heart had once thought so. The support group remained a safe harbor, but I realized my mission extended beyond its walls. I began reaching out to others in grief, sharing experiences and fostering empathy. I learned that service and solidarity are powerful pathways of healing, transforming pain into creative, loving energy that uplifts both the giver and receiver. Life regained its color. Small pleasures, listening to music, feeling the wind on my face, noticing genuine smiles around me, once dulled by sorrow, now stirred my heart. The physical absence of Jones no longer meant the absence of life or love. He lived on in my memory, in my faith, and in my actions, guiding me gently through each day. I sensed that I was being reborn gradually. The once suffocating grief now coexisted with hope. The past, rather than chaining me, became a foundation for a mindful present. I came to understand that life is continuous, that death is not the end, and that love once shared does not vanish. It transforms and manifests in new ways. By the end of this journey, I realized that my life was not only continuing but expanding. The longing for Jones remained, but it intertwined with purpose, faith, and joy. I could walk forward again, fully alive, confident, and aware that life is eternal. The new life that emerged was not mere survival. It was a true awakening to the continuity of love and existence. Rebirth. I reached a point where I understood that the pain I had felt was not a meaningless burden but a bridge to my spiritual growth. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of helplessness had been an opportunity to learn about myself, about life, and about the continuity of love. I was being reborn, not by forgetting but by transforming. The grief that once consumed me became conscious love. My longing for Jones did not disappear, but it no longer paralyzed me. I learned that true connection transcends matter and time. It lives in the soul and in the profound feelings that endure. Every memory of him now served as a reminder that love is eternal and that life continues, even in the face of loss. Faith became my constant guide. I realized that my connection with Jones remained alive, silent yet strong. He continued beside me in a spiritual sense, inspiring my steps, strengthening my choices, and offering comfort when longing struck the hardest. His presence was invisible but undeniably real, reminding me of the immortality of life and the soul. My mission became clear: to live fully, honor the love we shared, and help others find light in their own grief. The acts of solidarity that once served only as personal healing became a life purpose. I discovered that transforming suffering into service not only benefits others but also strengthens and elevates the spirit, creating a network of love that transcends any physical absence. Rebirth did not happen suddenly nor magically. It unfolded slowly, step by step, gesture by gesture. Each day I chose to get out of bed, work, smile, or support someone else, I reconnected with life. It was a gradual yet firm reconstruction, where grief coexisted with hope, longing transformed into remembrance, and courage turned into action. Looking back, I see that every moment of despair was necessary. Every tear and every feeling of emptiness prepared my heart for this rebirth. Today, I feel life pulsing fully within me, aware that death does not extinguish love, physical absence does not annul spiritual connection, and every painful experience can become a light for those willing to learn and grow. I feel alive again, whole, and connected to what truly matters. The love I shared with Jones continues in my heart, guiding my steps and strengthening my faith. My soul has been reborn, more conscious, serene, and ready to live with purpose. Now I understand that life is eternal, and that true reunion does not depend on time, but on the depth of love and faith we carry within ourselves. A message of hope and continuity. Maria's journey shows us that the pain of loss is intense, but not permanent. Even in the physical absence of those we love, life goes on, and the soul remains alive, connected to a love that never fades. When embraced with faith, suffering transforms into learning and inner strength. Spiritist teachings remind us that death is not the end, but a passage to another dimension. Maria discovered that the love she felt for Jones continued to guide her steps and strengthen her courage. This understanding brought her comfort, serenity, and the certainty that spiritual union is eternal. Turning grief into service and solidarity became the path that allowed Maria to reconnect with life. Helping others navigate their own suffering is also an act of healing for oneself. Faith and acts of goodness are powerful instruments of personal and spiritual growth, showing that love and care extend beyond physical presence. Maria's rebirth invites us all to reflect on our own losses and fears. Life continues, and each painful experience can be transformed into wisdom, love, and growth. When we find meaning in our pain, we open ourselves to hope and new possibilities, realizing that suffering can become a catalyst for transformation. If this story resonates with you, remember, faith, love, and solidarity are pathways to overcome any challenge. Share this message, inspire those who need it, and discover that even in absence, life pulses, and true connection is spiritual and eternal.